From Los Angeles and Nashville, get ready to go behind the scenes with Entertainment Dudes. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out.
Action cam.
Oh, I thought that was a burp, and then you started
It
talking.
is. No, it's my normal voice. What's wrong with you? Just go.
Hey, Jason,
Yes, hey Cam. Hi.
what time is it?
It's time for another episode of Entertainment Dudes.
Oh, wow, I was hoping you would say that.
Me too. And I was really hoping that we would be able to have the guest on that we have today, who's very, very exciting.
Uh-huh.
And I think on a scale of 1 to 10, she's probably an 11. So I'm just
It
preparing
goes all
for
the
you.
way up to 11.
Well, only for Megan. The reg scales normally stops at 10, but she's probably going to come on, and then we're just going to let her talk the entire time, and we'll just watch.
Can you introduce?
Yes, I'd like to
Said guest?
introduce. Yes, I'd like to introduce Megan Alexander. She is a host. Okay. Welcome to the show, Megan. Yes. So for those of you who know Inside Edition or have seen, you've probably seen her doing a lot of the football games and all kinds of the red carpets. And Megan and I go way back because in Nashville, I was in film school directing, and I needed to cast an incredibly talented young lady to be in one of my films. And this headshot came across the desk, and I was like, I can't say no. It's impossible. Do you remember the name of the movie? I was trying to see if I could remember the.
Oh, I do.
Well,
Something to Prove.
was it really? I couldn't remember. I'm so glad you can remember that. I don't.
Thinking about it the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, Something to Prove.
I'm trying to think. I can't even remember.
It changed a couple times.
Yeah, the title changed. I can't remember what the end title is. But anyways, it was awesome to be able to have you on that, and then full circle being able to have you on the show. I'm not going to say how many years ago that was, just because, for my sake.
Exactly the same, Jason.
Yes, you do too. I don't think you've changed at all. I don't think you've changed at all. Seriously.
He does, Cam. Cam, he looks exactly the same.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. He
Yeah,
doesn't
except
age.
for these. I have these little things right here, like these little cute things from smiling a lot. That's all.
There you go.
I just spent my entire life with a smile on my face. So if I have smile wrinkles, hey, I'm okay with that.
Worth it.
good.
No, that was Nashville, Tennessee, guys. That was like 2004, Jason, when the town was still small and there was a really close-knit film community that I just was starting to get to know. And, we were, limited budget, but we made it happen. Right, Jason? Like that was
Oh, yeah.
a fun time in Nashville.
It really was. I think that's one thing I had to learn. In order to do any kind of film there, you have to learn how to do everything. You're shooting, writing, directing, because there's very few times that you can actually specialize in Nashville. Like, we do have some DPs that specialize and eventually directors, but most people do a little bit of everything. So I think we just had to do that, and it kind of helped make me a better filmmaker all around. But so Cam was in news in Nashville as well, and he said, hey, there's some overlap to what you guys did in Nashville.
A little bit. I guess different years. I was at Fox 17 and also Metro Networks. For
Oh,
quite a while.
really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, how fun. So Metro Networks was first for me.
Okay.
I did the traffic and
Yeah.
occasional weather reports for them on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And we were off I-65 and Old Hickory Boulevard. Is that where you were, Cam?
Actually, I was downtown, and I actually wired the location you're talking about.
Okay.
So we took everything from the old one downtown in the SunTrust building and brought it all over to that location, and I reverse engineered everything and reset it up at that
Yes.
location. So yeah.
That was a really neat time. And I got that gig because of a voiceover guy in Nashville, Joe Lesh, if y'all know him.
Joe. Well,
Right?
Yeah, Joe got me back into voiceover. So
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we
But
were
yeah,
just talking about him with Greg
Yeah.
on the last show.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
because Lori was in sales. They're his wife.
That's
and
right.
Then, you probably know J. Michael Higgins and all
Oh my
those
gosh.
people.
My first boss, my best boss in the biz. He was amazing. And it was answering a ad that Joe Lesh put in the back of the Nashville Scene.
Okay.
And it was, want to do a voiceover demo. And I'd always been told, might have a voice for it. And so, called him up and we made a demo. And then he said, hey, would you want to do radio and traffic reports? I know that they're looking for some female voices. Went in, and that was really the beginning, guys, because as you know, in our business, you start to meet people, you start to share your dreams. it's all connected. And because of Metro Networks, they had a voice intro the show on Fox 17, Tennessee Mornings on Fox 17, which was a big morning show in town, as you know, Cam.
Yeah.
And I got to fill in for 1 week. I got to fill in for David Park, who
Yep.
was the
Oh.
voice of that show. And the rest
And-
is history for me in TV.
And Dave, I worked with him. It's hilarious at Metro, but way back when I worked with him at Y107 radio,
Okay.
like way back when. So
Yes.
yeah.
Was that kind
Awesome.
of the original plan? Did you always want to go hosting, or is that kind of just the path that opened up and the direction you took?
Yeah, from when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a news anchor. I'd wear the blazer and practice in front of my desk, with my little camcorder.
Awesome.
I fell in love with just the production of it.
Mhm.
And I realized, Jason, that I was really falling in love with the theatrical aspect of it, not so much hard news and crime, which I quickly
Right.
realized I didn't care for. I wanted to do the entertainment side of it all.
Yep.
But it was, just something in the business. And then moving to Nashville, you just start to kind of figure out, where's my spot? Where's my place? How can I pay the rent? And Metro Networks was the opportunity. And then I think I'm honestly just lucky that the doors started opening on the entertainment side, which absolutely is where I love to be.
We went to a dinner. I remember we had a dinner. I think it was at a steakhouse or something where you had some friends over and you told us that you got accepted to go to Texas.
Yes.
What was your first? What was the Texas? That was in Dallas.
That was in San Antonio. And Michael Higgins, who is this boss that Cam and I are talking about at
Yeah.
Metro Networks, he pulled me into his office. I'd been at Metro for about a year. And he said, Megan, San Antonio, Texas is looking for a female traffic reporter for television for the CBS affiliate down there. He said, I think you should send your tape, your video reel, my DVD, from filling in for that 1 week on Fox 17 and getting a chance to be on television. And they let me do other things. And I thought, oh no, I love Nashville. I want to be in this community, but hey, let's just get some feedback, right? Let's send the DVD and
Right.
get some feedback. And they called me and flew me down for an audition. And Michael Higgins was instrumental in that whole process. And I distinctly remember him. I said, Michael, what's your advice if I was to take this job? And he said two things. He said, number one, it's a grown-up job, right? It was like a CBS affiliate. It's time to kind of think about growing up. And two, he said, Megan, be a little cocky. And I needed to hear that because I was the nice girl, want to always do everything right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. He was like, be a little cocky. And I'm convinced him telling me that probably got me a little bit of a raise in the salary because I was a little cocky where I normally would have said, oh, thank you so much. It's just an honor to be included.
Right.
Michael said, Megan, be a little cocky. They really need a female and you're good. So that was the transition to San Antonio. And Michael's such a great boss because not all bosses want you to leave. And he was really cool to say, hey, this is an opportunity for you to grow. I mean, I'd love for you to stay in Nashville, but you should really think about this. And not all bosses are that way. And
Or he's like, yeah, you definitely need to leave.
Yeah,
Like, why don't you
get
take that job?
right? Oh my gosh.
He's
Probably
like, she is just too nice for this show.
But I still call him. I still call him
Oh,
for his
yeah.
advice on things and we message and stuff. So
Yeah, he's great. We worked at Way FM together too. So like way
Nice.
back when. So yeah, he's a great guy.
So we were talking with Greg Travis last couple weeks. He's on the show today, and he's on the show last week. And we're talking about something about doing interviews. Like you've done bazillions of interviews.
Yeah.
We were talking to like some of the. He said one of the greatest travesties in interviews, I guess, is someone who goes up with the note card and you're just reading the questions and you're
And
not
not
listening,
listening.
not listening to what the other person's giving you. So whenever you're, as a person who is hosting, I mean, you're interviewing all the time. How do you approach an interview? How do you make it interesting? What kind of stuff do you do before you go into an interview? What kind of prep do you do? And then do you throw that card out once you're there and kind of just go with you get what you get? Or how do you do that process?
Yes, that is such a great question. And the best advice that I ever got was it's a roadmap. Have your questions, have, the sort of basis of the story down, but be willing in the moment to see what rabbit trails you might go down. And that is a skill because I think for a lot of us, we get nervous and we're just, especially if it's a celebrity, you're looking down at your next question. And did I lose you guys?
No.
Sorry, you disappeared on me. There you are.
Kim just made you full screen.
Yeah, I just made you full screen. So,
But you, especially when I'm interviewing a celebrity, you get nervous and you look down at those notes as your crutch. And so the best thing you can do is to try to just be in the moment and go. And I will tell you, I didn't do that once with Madonna. I was interviewing Madonna about her movie W.E., Wallace Simpson and Prince Edward. And we're doing the interview, and I knew I only had like 10 minutes with her. And then she pushed a question to me. She said, "What was your favorite part of the movie, Megan?" I wasn't ready for it because I had my questions for her, and I stumbled up with. I said, "Oh, I really loved the auction scene, which is a scene in the movie, but you got to be prepared that they may." Dish it back to you. And those could be really fun moments. So
yeah, they're testing to see if you actually watched the show.
Yeah. Totally was.
Are you prepared for this interview?
Yeah. And that just comes from, relaxing and doing it enough to where you can get comfortable. You always are going to have a little bit of nerves, but just try to channel them as positive energy.
Yeah. So I've seen, so you've done red carpets too. I guess the difference between you sit down and you got a few minutes for them to talk about something specifically. On a red carpet, you're going to see person after person. Do you have to know who the people are and a little backstory for a lot of them? Or do you just,
Yes.
How does that work when you're so on demand at the moment?
Yes. Honestly, red carpets are challenging. And it was similar to covering Thursday night football when you've got your two teams. It's like studying for a final. I mean, there's no other way to say it. You've got to study everyone. You've got to be prepared to go every different direction. One interview is so much easier, or just a group of people, or just one story, one specific story. Red carpets are a lot, and you've got to just do your best to what is in addition to the red carpet moment, which might be an award show. What other projects are they working on? Did somebody just get engaged? Is somebody having a baby? All those
things that they want to know about. Do you have somebody in your ear that's feeding you stuff too? Or are you entirely untethered?
I am on my own.
Oh gosh. You got the camera guy that you can look to and he's like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't even know who they are. I just got a camera, okay?
Yeah. It's fun though. It's fun. And you just try to be in the moment. Jim Nance, who is one of the greatest CBS sports announcers, does the Masters, does football on CBS. I asked him once, because we worked together for Thursday Night Football. I said, "How do you do it, Jim? Like, it's just so much." And he told me, he said, "Megan, you'll never be fully prepared." He said, "I am never fully prepared. I just do the best I can. And then I got to let it go and just enjoy the moment." But he says, "You'll never be up on absolutely everyone. It's just too hard. You never know what, curveball is going to be thrown at you." So,
yeah, that's what I find really interesting in doing interviews is I like to look at it in two ways. One of them, I've got a certain set of things I need to know from that person that I know my audience is interested in. But then there's also that exploratory part of not knowing, and I genuinely want to know myself something about them. So to me, it's fun. Like a conversation right now, I know certain things about you that are part of your story, but there's other pieces I don't know. So I just want to know. And I think genuinely once it becomes that conversation and you slip into that, just we're jiving and we're talking, that's some of the most authentic stuff comes up out of it. And what are the biggest surprise? Who was the first person that you interviewed? Do you remember the first celebrity that you interviewed? I know that's going to break the brain, but
well, I'll go way back to Metro Networks. Cam, I was doing traffic for, I believe it was Live 95 at the time. Now I think it's something else, 95.5.
Yeah.
Which is a Nashville country station. They had Billy Currington on, and the radio host was doing an interview with Billy Currington, and they just kind of pulled me into the conversation. So I think Billy Currington might have been one of the first. I was a fan, and so I complimented him on his songs. But that's going way back. I think he's one of the first, and then big celebrities. Like for Inside Edition, I'm trying to think. That's a great question, Jason. I don't know who my first big celebrity was.
It was funny because just because we're talking about those things, I think Greg was saying his first one was Whitney Houston.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, and he said because he was actually there behind the camera helping to shoot, and then they said the person who's coming can't make it. You have to do it. And he's like,
Oh,
so I think he said he was like, what, 20, 22,
Right.
23 years old?
That opened up a lot for him.
Yeah,
though.
and well, you never know. I think it's about being open to opportunities that come because
Right.
you know, and I think it's not turning down any job. Like, you know, if you think, oh, I'm a weather person, that doesn't matter. I want to be this or whatever those parts are. Like he just taken it as he was just running cameras for this, you know, for a company. He didn't even really know exactly where. He was just saying yes.
yes. Yeah.
So I think it's that thing is like being willing to say yes.
Right.
I just thought of it, Jason. It was Anthony Hopkins in San Antonio. That
Oh
was one of
my
my first
Wow.
big
Yeah.
celebrity.
One of my all-time favorites. That
I know.
guy's a
Yeah.
genius.
And that was definitely being open to the opportunity. We interviewed him because he also writes symphonies. I mean, he writes big long form pieces. What would you call it? Concertos, or
Right.
he had done this whole score, classical music score, and the San Antonio Symphony was performing his music. And that was the connection, is that we were going to interview him about it and support the local theater and the local orchestra. And he was so down to earth and normal. I walked up on him and he was swinging, going wee in this little swing outside. And he was Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal Lecter and all these things. And he was so sweet and kind and very gentle.
Yeah.
It was kind of the opposite of what I thought, and just really, really kind and lovely. So he's
Wow.
probably heard. I was still very nervous, but he made it so much easier because he was great.
Yeah.
Interviewing, writing, producing, acting. What's your favorite genre?
Yeah, I love creating and make believe. So honestly, being on film sets and TV shows, there's nothing like it. I mean,
Yeah.
news is still regular life in a sense. And I've obviously seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, I've covered tornadoes and hurricanes and seen people in the worst of the worst. And then, yes, there's the fun moments of being right next to someone when they win a major award or win a Super Bowl, and you get to just be right there and feel the energy. But I love make believe. I love the team effort of a film. Jason, it's so neat, even thinking back to the film that you and I did, just the completion, the arc of that first day, and then seeing it all come together and watching it on the big screen. News and hosting is very quick. Oftentimes it's 1 to couple days, maybe if it's a long form story, but the whole process of a couple weeks on a set and really getting to know people and how it all fits together, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Team effort.
Yeah, same. There's something magical and special about it. It's funny, like Cam and I were talking about. We've done a lot of commercials. You do a lot of different videos that you're using for commercial. They're there and then they're gone. It's and I never get to see the impact that those things have. But whenever you get to do a story, there's something about it. It resonates and it has a longer shelf life. And to me, it's such a meaningful interaction that I have with my audience. And there's like an authenticity that comes from being able to take a piece of me and share it through the lives of my characters to impact people in an emotional way. There's very few things in life that excite me as much as a good story. Like just being able to tell a story. I can't imagine life without it. Have you ever thought, what else would you do? Like literally, what would you do if you couldn't do this? Like, I'm like, there's nothing I'd want to do. I don't know what I would do.
I know the only thing I've ever thought that would be somewhat similar to what we do is perhaps a counselor or a psychologist. So be able to have the long conversations, really analyze things. Because you think about when we analyze a part or we're approaching a script.
Yeah, you're breaking it down.
You get very personal with people right away and develop those relationships which I love. So I thought maybe somehow that could be a connection. But yeah, I hear you guys. Like I don't think I'd be good at a lot of other things.
Yeah. What other stuff have you worked on? What's been one of the favorite things you've worked on? Like, what is something you did that you were like, I just so love that I did that?
Yeah. Well, it was very fun to be on the set of Nashville, the ABC show several times. You guys know so many people.
What'd you play?
Oh,
you
I
just
played
got
a
to be in
reporter.
it?
I played a reporter numerous times.
I got to be on the show too. Okay, I got to be a drummer on that show.
Oh, that's
You
cool.
played a reporter. That's awesome.
I know. And
Typecast.
Oh, completely typecast. But my line to Hayden Panettiere's character, Juliet, was, Juliet, who's the father? When she was pregnant. That was my first line on the show. And then got some fun ones from there. But no, that was neat because seeing it in Nashville and seeing all of the Hollywood, machine come to our city was really neat. And then, I mean, I did a Christmas movie with Reba McEntire called Christmas in Tune that was on Lifetime last year. Got to play her publicist. So finally something other than a reporter.
You're like, I'm really going to stretch far on this one. I'm going to be a publicist.
Let me be a publicist. And then, well, I would say, like, from a personal perspective, I was a part of an independent film in San Jose a couple of years ago and got to have a really emotional crying scene. I played the daughter of a family that was going through a lot and dealing with a lot of just pain and problems in their family. And so that was really interesting to tackle crying and just, what you try to activate all your lessons that you've learned, in your acting classes. But when that camera's staring you in the face and you got to cry. And I will tell you guys, being on the set of Nashville years prior, I always tell people Hayden Panettiere was laughing and giggling and eating peanuts. And then the director called action and she started bawling. And then they said cut and she went back to laughing. And I thought, she is so good. Because that's so hard to do. It took me a while to get in the moment. Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
I was like, I remember I was on the set of that. I got cast to be the drummer in what's the guy's name? The lead guy. He has his. Yeah. So I got cast, and I got there. They're doing the hair, the makeup, and suddenly somebody, I think it was the AD or somebody, came in, and they're like, "Why? Who is this guy?" And the other girl who casted me is like, "Hey, what's the guy for the drum?" He's like, "He doesn't look weird, world weary and old." I was like, "This guy's too young. He cannot play this role." I'm standing right there. They're fighting. She's ripping her up and down. He goes, "He's completely wrong for this character. I mean, just look at him." And I was like, hi, right here. I'm here. So I got to be in that one up there. Like, fine, whatever. Just put him in for the show for today. Like, put him in the background.
I need to look up this episode, Jason.
Wow.
I was like, speaking of the background, I kind of feel like I'm in the background right now. Like,
well, at least translation, you were young and, good looking. And
I didn't look world weary. I didn't look worn and tired. He said, he's supposed to look like he had a hard life. Does he look like he had a hard life? I was like, life's pretty hard right now. I mean, you're screaming about me in front of me, but
that is great.
It's very interesting. A lot of times, like when I was in acting that part, as a background, there is a certain amount of initiative that you want to take if you're going to be an actor. Like you said, there's a certain level of almost a confidence that you just have to believe in what you're doing in order for people to also see that. It's like almost fake it till you make it, but not really. You have to have some of that behind you. But I remember that day, they were just going to relegate me to the back, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. I got I got paid to come do this. So I've been directing for forever. I know exactly where the camera's going to shoot, and I know there's a hole right over here. And I was like, I know it's a dead space. I'm going to fill the dead space and I can cut across because I know it's going to look better. So sure enough, I did this thing, walked to the table, and the AD told me, no, you don't need to be there. But when they rolled the camera, I did it. I walked to the table, grabbed a grape, walked over and sat down next to the actor in that spot where I knew was going to look good. And as soon as I did that, the AD's like, hey, that one who'd been screaming, then the director's like, no, I like it. That's great. We're going to do that again. So the director told me later, he's like, hey, that was great. We started talking and stuff. So it's about building relationships and about understanding, I guess it just comes from knowing what's good on camera and knowing the story, but having a little initiative, because the worst thing they can do is scream at you and you're like, hey, no problem. Hey, my mistake. I'll take care of this. But if you do something that's really kind of unexpected and you don't want to detract from, I wasn't detracting from what was happening because I'm serving the story. Yeah. But at the same time, I was just saying, hey, I can bring something that I've got to this little part right here and make a difference. And it was fun watching Nashville. So I had friends call, like, hey, I saw you on the thing. It's just fun when that happens,
Absolutely.
Very cool. So Kim, what do you think?
I think a lot of stuff. No, seriously though, how does everything you do, for instance, I'm sure that the acting and helps you in the reporting side, and all the people you meet help you on the acting side. Can you talk about the synergy between everything that you do, even though that they're completely different?
Absolutely. Oh, that's such a good point and a great question. I'm so aware of how many people it takes to pull our industry off. Right. Background teams that we don't even think about, As a reporter, I'm aware that the actor I'm interviewing has just memorized how many pages of script and has a late night shoot that he's heading into. So I need to know my stuff and not waste their time. I think a big one is just respect for all the players in the industry, and just realizing that you being prepared, showing up, being on time, doing your part is one of the best things you can do in this whole scheme of things, of whatever the schedule is. And as you both know, Jason, long hours on sets for movies and TV shows. News media is pretty in and out. Again, for the most part, we show up, we do our story. It could be late night, it could be early, but on movie sets, those long, long hours, I just have tremendous respect for, just the determination. And you really have to, you have to give up a lot personally to show up on set for these different projects, and being aware of the sacrifice. I think there was a part of me early on that really did think, that if you're in front of the camera, if you're a little bit late, it's okay, right? Because everyone, can't start until you're there. The more you work in this industry, I am just very aware that it is so important that you're on time or early, because there is how much equipment that they have rented that the clock is ticking on. And so I'm grateful for all that, just being awareness.
That's really an interesting point. I think one thing I know from the side of a crew is it demoralizes the crew when the actor is late. Yes. It has a negative effect in such a powerful and profound way, because those guys, we get there, at 5 a.m. And even though your call time's 10, they're there up at 5, and they probably wrapped at, 10 o'clock or 11 the night before. Right. And they're doing everything, carrying heavy stuff, hauling huge things, raising it to make you look good, to make you as the actor, actress look good. Right. And I think when that person shows up late, it's just, for them, it's like, man, nothing that we did mattered, and you set the tone already right away. So, it's our job as a crew to be like, okay, whatever. And, they kind of just write it off like, oh, actors, whatever. But at the same time, it did do something negative. Same as the director. I like to be there a little bit earlier, and I like to be able to participate if I can help in certain areas. They don't want you sometimes to direct, oh, don't touch that, I'll do it. But at least they see you making an effort. Like, even if I'm reaching towards something, I'm going to help them set this light up. The moment I reach for it, 2 people run over. No, wait, don't, we got this. But at least they know, like, I understand what it takes. I'm here as a part of what you're doing. So I think you're really being respectful to the people on set is one of the most important things you can do at all. And I think just being a pleasant person while you're there, people are going to hire you again. Even if if they're like, they weren't the very best at this, but doggone, it was fun. And they showed a readiness and willingness to do it. Like, I can teach that. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah, very cool.
What are the attributes of a project, when you look at a project, that make you decide you either want to tackle it or pass on it?
Yeah, as a mother of 3 young children, I'm more than ever, I want my kids to be able to watch my work and listen. Sometimes some of the stories for Inside Edition are not appropriate, and they deal with deep issues, crime, again, scary scenes, whether it's a tornado or a hurricane that has devastated an area. So I have to be mindful of that. But in terms of, film or television, I definitely think about them now, and it used to be my grandpa, honestly, guys, right. Before I had kids, it was, could I call my grandpa, who was just a big fan of what I did, and would he feel comfortable watching it? And I got a part I had an agent in New York City when I was early on at Inside Edition. I had an agent in New York City that sent me a script for a very popular drama that was on a cable channel that you would all know, that had 2 megawatt stars leading it. And he sent me the script. And as you guys know, oftentimes you just get your part, maybe 1 or 2 pages. You don't get the full script, but I got the scene right before mine. And my part was no problem. I knew it. I could do it. I could deliver. It was like a publicist. And the scene before was so dark and so rough. And I just thought I would not feel comfortable with a lot of people in my inner circle watching this. And then 30 seconds later, here I come. And so I turned it down, and the agent got really upset with me. And he was like, Megan, this could be a slam dunk for you. This would be great for your resume. Like, what on earth is the deal? Just do the part. And I said, I'm so sorry. I just can't. And I didn't hear from that agent for years and thought I lost him. And then it was so funny, guys. A couple years later, he emailed me with another role. And so I think I probably annoyed him for a couple years, but I clung to my values and I was just determined that I wasn't going to do it. So I tell young people, look, you need to think about who you are. What are you okay with? What are you not okay with? I have friends that are completely fine with swearing every word in the book, and then others that don't want to. Some are okay with, maybe a very, revealing scene or just pushing the envelope more than others. What's your moral compass? Everybody's different. And I just knew for me, that scene I was uncomfortable with. So you got to decide for yourself.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really important not to know that boundary, and then that's your stop. Like, because the industry, they're always going to be something that's going to ask you to push. You have so many people, like, especially agents. It's very fascinating you said this. I have an incredible actress here who she's been cast in a couple of roles, and she said, I got cast in this role. She said, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable doing it, but my agent's telling me I have to do. You can't say no. This is a part. You need this thing. It's going to be good for you. And she's like, it goes further than I want to. And she said it at the same time, but it's a really good role. It's this and this. So it's being able to have the courage to say no means you might really piss off your agent. You might not get anything. And so that's something that's very scary, especially in an industry that's so time sensitive, especially for girls. It's like they're going to go for that role. They're looking for that. We need the younger. She's got to be this. And then, you've got that clock that's like always in your face. And so when you say no to something like that, it's like, gosh, it's really challenging. So I think, hurrah for you for having the, have knowing. And I think what a great thing to picture. Like, would my grandfather, would I want him watching this, or my mom, whoever that person is for you. And it's almost an accountability thing in terms of that little gut check about whether or not you should or shouldn't do something. One thing I tell my students at film school is, like, especially if you're an actor or an actress today, you can create your own stories. Gears are small enough, cameras are cheap enough. Like, find the roles that you really, really like to do. Yes. And if you don't want to be in someone else's vision and compromise yourself, you can create something that really complements what you want to accomplish too. I don't think there's any reason, as a director, I have to cast actors and find people willing to work on my project. So if you've got a really great project and you're a good actor, you can find a director who's interested in working on your story, especially if you're paying for it. So it's a great way to get your teeth cut into something and create things that you're not feeling you have to compromise on, because you're doing something that came from you. It originated from you.
Jason, that's exactly what I did with Small Town Christmas. I thought, okay, I want to watch content with my kids. I want it to be family friendly, joyful around the holidays. And I didn't find a holiday travel show out there. So I said, fine, I'm going to make it myself. I came up with the pitch and pitched it to the Up Network, and they took me up on the offer. And so absolutely, there's a point where you have to go, am I supposed to do it? And no longer look to anybody else, but say, maybe I'm supposed to take the reins.
Yeah. How did that pitch work for you? How do you do? Because you hadn't pitched a lot before, had you?
No. Yeah.
Okay. So what was that like when you got to do your first pitch?
Yeah. Well, it's something that, another thing that I tell young people, and it sounds like you both do this a lot too, is I tell people, do what you love, and then it's so much easier. And I've always loved Christmas. I love the Travel Channel documentary type shows, Nat Geo. And I just thought it'd be so neat during COVID when we were all locked down. I thought, gosh, I wish I could travel and take my kids to all these towns outside of Nashville during the holidays. And I thought, as soon as, restrictions lift, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this show. And so I had time to map it all out and think about it and research the towns. And I just, I will say, having worked in the news industry, I knew enough about stacking a show, right? Your A block, right. You grab them, B, C, D is kind of, your core, and then end with a bang. And so I approached it that way. They're 30-minute episodes. We did 4 for season 1 and went to 4 different towns. And so I brought in, sort of the way to stack a show and way to build a news story. And I will say the executive producer of Inside Edition, Charles Lockman, he's been with that show for 25 plus years. He is a master of grabbing your attention. And so having kind of studied under him, I've been with Inside Edition for 13 years, studying under him, I knew I could pull that into the Christmas space. And then, it was just, what do people love? They love the holidays. They love the music. They love the lights. They love the hot cocoa, sort of the Hallmark movie formula, and put it together and pitched it. And we got 2 people that were interested and ultimately went with Up because they let me executive produce it. And I wanted to have that creative control. So.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
great. Go ahead, Cam.
Oh no, we're almost out of time here. So I just wanted to throw that's amazing. Couple questions here. Do you prefer working on your own projects like that? And then once that question's done, is there anything else we haven't covered for today?
Yeah,
that
the
you wanna,
books.
tell people. Yeah, the books and all that other stuff. We got to get into
She's
it, but we've got
segueing really into the. That's
Yeah,
almost
we've
another
got
episode.
about,
We have to have you on again
like,
to talk
5
just
minutes.
about the
Yeah.
books because
exactly.
Awesome. Well, I will say Faith in the Spotlight has a lot to do with the conversation we had about what do you stand for? Who
Okay.
are
Yeah.
you in the industry? And that was me working through turning down jobs and also accepting jobs. So if any young people out there want to learn more, Faith in the Spotlight, which is on
Okay.
Amazon, is a good resource. And then I got to tell you that we're doing season 2 of Small Town Christmas. So we're working on it
Yes.
now.
Whoop, whoop.
And to answer your question, Cam, I am totally split down the middle on being the boss because, as you both know, it is
Right.
so stressful when it all rests on your own shoulders.
Oh,
You
yeah.
realize at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, it is your fault,
Yeah.
Nobody else. So running a team and that's just a lot. And again, huge respect for directors and producers that do it, where I was just the hired gun, the talent for so long.
Mhm.
And suddenly when you're doing it all, but it's an amazing accomplishment and just feeling of, I really can do this, and a way to kind of rally yourself. But I would say there's definitely a time where I like to just clock in and clock out. I'll be the hired gun on a TV show any day, Give me my script, I'm good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
that's something I noticed for sure is there's a responsibility you have when you're in the leadership position
Yeah.
because if everyone's depending on you to be able, their jobs are on the line too. Like what's the next, have their paycheck for their family. As long as I'm creating jobs and I know that they're eating, their families are getting fed. There's a lot more than just, like you said, I've been an actor. I just go, I get to do the acting and then I leave. But that director is like, no, I got to find out, okay, I finished this. I'm already working on the next project, trying to close deals, because I need to keep generating, and that pressure is always there. It never goes away. It's always there.
And the delegating, learning to delegate and release control to other people is difficult to figure out in the beginning, right? And I really had to let go of some things, ordering lunch. You just need to roll with it.
Well, I think that's important of hiring the right team. Like, so it's why is it so hard to break into industry sometimes is because people have learned to work together in such a unit. And I know that I can trust those people. I know I don't need to tell my person what food to order. They already know what we like to eat. I don't need to tell my set designer how to set certain things. I could just tell them what I'm looking for. And I know that they're going to create an incredible vision. So picking that right team and working with them consistently, that's the real winner, because then you can begin to let go, especially if you're a control freak.
Yes, so true. And we're all control freaks in this industry in some way.
Small projects you can do by yourself.
Yeah.
You can do something, but the moment it gets bigger and you start adding and you got a crew of 30, 40, 50, 100, you can't. It's impossible. You cannot do them all. You have to let go of some of that control. And some people are like, I can't. I can't do it. I can't.
Oh man. So we're out of time now. We definitely want to have you back on the show.
Yes,
and
please.
There's so much more to talk about.
Please,
So
because
thank
it'd be
you.
great
Yes.
to dig more into the Faith in the Spotlight.
Exactly.
I love that. I've
Yes.
seen some of your videos that you've done of those live conferences
Right.
and things. The material is incredible and so important. So it would be great to just
Right.
have an entire, just focus on that. It would be so wonderful if you'd be open
Let's
to
do it. Let's do it.
Yay. Oh, I'd be good. Okay, we love it.
All right.
Well, thank you
Ladies and
again
gentlemen,
for joining
Megan
us.
Alexander, thank you so
Yes.
much for
Thank
being
you,
on the
guys.
show today. All right.
Take care.
Take care. Wow. Lots of stuff.
I'm telling you, it was wonderful having her on the show, and a spectacular woman. If you haven't had a chance, like her Faith in the Spotlight, One More Hug. She's written a kid's book too, and I think the thing is really about focusing on family and focusing on the ideas of, I guess, really just about morality and making choices that are best for you. And I'm really excited about digging in more into that, because it really comes up a lot, especially with actors. You're playing roles that are often compromising in themselves. They're murderers, they're killing people. It's like, where do you find those binds psychologically, and what choices are you actually making as an actor, and what choices are you making as a person?
Right.
If I'm sleeping with this person, oh, it's my character. Like, no, there's certain things you are actually really doing yourself. And so
Right.
where does that line go when you're doing an acting, and how does that impact people? So it's really, really exciting to look into that and ideas about what are you willing to do for yourself and compromise, and where those lines are. So stay tuned for another episode of Entertainment Dudes. If you are not already, like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on any of our podcast platforms. We're really excited that you're here, and we've got a backlog of about 30 shows. So if this is your first time, go ahead and check some of our incredible people that we've had before.
Binge.
You can actually binge our show, and
Yes.
then who knows what happens after. You might become a better person. So anyways, enjoy. Thanks. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you again on Entertainment Dudes.
Entertainment Dudes.